Welcome back. You're watching ClearCut Plus, coming to you live from New York City. I'm Michelle Makori. Tensions between the United States and Iran appear to be reaching a tipping point. Ships being sabotaged near the vital Straits of Hormuz has caused some international leaders to fear that this may not just be a war of words between the two countries. I-24's defense correspondent Daniel Tzemach has more.
The belligerent rhetoric between the United States and Iran is heating up. The U.S. has issued a new warning to its Navy after 4 commercial vessels were targeted off the coast of the UAE. At least 2 Saudi Arabian oil tankers were damaged. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo arriving in Brussels Monday after canceling a scheduled visit to Moscow to meet with European allies and discuss the recent threatening actions and statements by Iran.
We continue to fully support the nuclear deal with Iran, its full implementation, and so we'll continue to support it as much as we can with all our instruments and all our political will. This is very well known, I think, both in Washington and in Tehran.
But political will aside, things seem to be escalating. Just one day ago, Iranian media cited a commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard saying the U.S. military presence in the Gulf used to be a serious threat, but now represented a target. That target being anything from American aircraft carriers to naval destroyers or air defense systems and cruise missiles. All have been mobilized to the Gulf. And the world is taking notice.
We are very worried about the risk of a conflict happening by accident, with an escalation that is unintended really on either side, but ends with some kind of conflict.
Both Iran and the United States have engaged in warring rhetoric in the past, even mobilizing aircraft carriers, only to then call them back. But with incidents like the sabotage of oil tankers off the UAE coast, even an accident could bring about a more aggressive confrontation. Daniel Tzemach, I-24 News.
All right, joining us now is Matthew Brodsky, a senior fellow with the Security Studies Group. Matthew, thanks for being on the show with us. Matthew, do you think that the U.S. and Iran are headed for a military confrontation either by accident or by design?
I think if it's by design, it will certainly be Iran's choice. It's trying to do a sabre-rattling at this point, and the fact is it really wants to put pressure on Iran now that it's given a 60-day window. It really hopes that it's going to get Europe to say to the United States, this is why we need to stay within the deal and to bolster the deal. And the United States, of course, is going to need to respond to that by saying, if you think this is bad now, just wait until they have a nuclear weapon and try this. So I think Iran certainly has been saying a lot of things, has been moving a lot of equipment around, is open on open source intelligence. We can see that. So they seem to be prepared, and we certainly seem to be prepared now.
Well, the U.S. has deployed a number of military assets to the region. Break those down for us.
Well, I think a lot of the reporting has been on the USS Abraham Lincoln. Sure, we sent the carrier strike group back, and of course B-52s back to Qatar, and F-35s, which are the stealth jet that of course Israel has. The more interesting I've found is that I've seen some reports about what we're equipping, say, our F-15s with. We seem to be very much looking at the possibility of needing to strike something in Iran that's far more substantial. I say that because when you look at what Israel has targeted inside of Syria, for instance, they do so from what we understand in open reporting that these are using F-35s, or the jets that it has. B-52s are obviously far larger bombs, and some of the airplanes that are being, I would say, packed up with equipment are designed for air-to-air missions, in other words, to provide cover for that type of thing. This is all, in essence, in order to make sure that we're sending a very strong warning to Iran that we really have everything that we need in that theater if we need to respond. And of course, also I should mention, I'm seeing a lot of our the bases that we have inside of Iraq and Jordan. This isn't just in the Gulf area. Wherever the United States is and our European allies, more equipment is going in there.
And yet, with all of these U.S. military assets being deployed to the region, we do have these incidents of these oil tankers being attacked. Iran is denying that they're behind it. There's some initial reports from U.S. intelligence that it does point as though this was the work of Iran. Iran says it's a third party. Who would have incentive to do this if not Iran?
This is, of course, Iran. It's just fanciful to think otherwise. I was on a different debate program a couple days ago, and there was someone from the University of Tehran there. Now, if you're a professor from the University of Tehran, you can only speak, really, if the regime allows you to. And he issued a threat that was pretty much exactly what happened. So they're not only
So what's Iran doing with this? I mean,
are
they testing the boundaries? I mean, what are they trying to do with this? They're trying to see how much they can push the U.S. before it responds. They want to test how much Europe is going to support them or to hold the U.S. back from taking action. What's the agenda with this move?
I think, honestly, its biggest audience right now is Europe, because the United States is standing resolute, and it has, and it will stand behind its allies, especially our Gulf allies there, and obviously Israel. And we've said that, and we've done so in action. I think this is designed to put more pressure on Europe, to put pressure on the United States during these 60 days. I really don't think that's going to work with Trump as president. I don't think he's going to buy that.
So scaring the Europeans that a war could break out in order to force them to put more pressure on the U.S. And that seems to be working, at least from what Mike Pompeo was told, to show maximum restraint. This is the U.S. is pushing for maximum pressure on Iran. Matthew, thanks as always. Matthew Brodsky from the Security Studies Group. Appreciate it. All right, well, changing our focus now to Tehran.